Let's talk a little bit about the depth that adds to the character. I mean, Wade Keller gave this a lot of praise in the Observer when these, or in the Torch rather, when these promos first start airing. He says, in the long run, the storyline gives the Undertaker a depth of character he's never had by explaining why he's obsessed with death, and he's no longer merely a one-dimensional cartoon character. The idea of him being obsessed with death, perhaps as a result of his brother's death, that's pretty creative. That's pretty amazing. You guys did a home run with the backstory of this. Do you think of all the backstories that you've, because I know sometimes you've told us, hey, we used to book year to year. We start with the end in mind and work backwards. But this just sort of evolves. Like, it's not like when you first create this character for The Undertaker back in 1990, you say, well, 7 years from now, I mean, is this the most or the best, perhaps, backstory that you've been able to apply to any character in the history of wrestling that you know of?
Definitely the best one that I've ever done.
Yeah.
I think that it was, so much of it started in the basis of the Undertaker and the basis of creating Undertaker and why I wanted to create the Undertaker from the viewpoint of I wanted a black to my white, his brother Love. So we played with that so much, and I had the elaborate story for the Undertaker too, very. And it was, some of it came from when I was when I was going to do the deal at WCW before I came back to WWF. And Dusty told me I'm going to manage Barbarian. I started thinking of backstories for him.
Okay.
Be able to tell the story of who he is. Because other than being a barbarian,
what is
what the hell, what is he? Who is he? Why is he?
Right.
And so I had thought of stories for him. I think the best thing that happened, me coming back at that time was you got to see the mic skills of Cactus Jack, who took over and was cutting those promos for the Barbarian. So that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I dare say, better for Barbarian in that situation at the time.
Better than you doing it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to think of ways to make the character relatable. Even one of the most bizarre characters in the world, you have to make them believable and you have to make them relatable. And going back to the Undertaker from day one, yeah, it was part of it. It was part of the good versus evil. One was pure and one was not so pure. As a matter of fact, about as far from pure as you could get. And the idea being later on, when it was time, because I also, the other thing that used to get an argument all the time was, I would always say, man, when this motherfucker turns babyface, talking about the Undertaker.
Right.
Because he was just he was a badass.
Yes.
What's there to hate? And, I helped him be a heel because I was easy to hate. So I knew that day would come. And probably I wanted to rush it. Hell, I was gone before they turned him babyface. But I kept saying, like, uh-oh, we got a babyface on our hands. They love him. At first, they were terrified of him.
Right.
But there's just something about that character that's just so cool that you had to go through that a little bit before you got to the babyface part.
Did Vince know there was a fan of the darker side of life? I mean, the heavy metal and goth and all of that sort of thing doesn't feel like something Vince was necessarily in tune with, blacklight posters and stuff like that. Just that side of, did he get it? Or is that something that you just saw, hey, whether we get it or not, whether it's our thing or not, there is a contingent of America that this is their thing. They're going to love this.
No, it takes all kinds, man.
Yeah.
Takes all kinds. I think he got it. I'll never forget Taker and I were celebrating his birthday one year and sitting in a bar at WrestleMania. And it was the WrestleMania week. And we found a bar that was empty. And we're sitting at the bar. And there's a guy that looked like Marilyn Manson. This was before Marilyn Manson, I believe. At least I didn't know who the fuck Marilyn Manson was.
Right.
But later on, I could say, oh, hey, yeah, that looks like the guy that was at the bar. Long trench coat, long black hair, just white face, man. But it was pale white. I mean, it was eerily white. And he stood at the entrance of the bar and just stood there. Well, we're sitting there, we're drinking, we're joking, we're having a good time. And finally, Mark turns over and looks at him. Nodded his head. The guy came over. And it looked like he could have had machine guns in here, shotguns, whatever, probably, who knows what else. And he takes his jacket off and he pulls back his sleeve and gave Mark a Sharpie and he says, "Where do you want it?" And the guy gestures right there to his forearm. Undertaker signed his forearm. Guy leaves. We're there for a long time. Right about time we're getting ready to leave. It's closing down. The guy comes back. And this time he just walked right up to us, took his thing off and pulled his sleeve back. And he had gotten that autograph tattooed on his arm.
Oh, wow.
And it just was like, there were no words spoken. It was just weird.
Yeah.
But those were the type of fans that he had, and he had, just you name it. But people were genuinely afraid of him.
Yes.
He was very intimidating, big bastard, and, just could give you that look that would look right through you.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Doug Gustafson, and we are from Columbus, Ohio. First learned of Conrad through his podcast network. I'm a big 83 Weeks fan. Probably got into a little bit more credit card debt than what we wanted to during the course of the pandemic. We wanted to get rid of some of that. My wife and I had luckily bought the house many years ago and had quite a bit of equity built up in it. We are looking to actually redo our bathroom, things around the house that we wanted to do with the other equity that we have left over. We've been talking about refinancing forever, and I finally just took the plunge and called the number, got a hold of him, and from start to finish, it was just fantastic. I had Diane within the day. The communication with her was fantastic. The process moved quicker than I could have ever hoped. My name's Doug Gustafson from Columbus, Ohio. I ended up saving $800 a month with Save with Conrad, and am able to also update our bathroom.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.